Welcome to Pacific Northwest Outdoors. My name's Chris and it is transplanting time. So we're going to get some of these plants that have gotten a little big for this container, such as these cucumbers, some of the tomatoes, and we're going to get them into their own little pots where they will hopefully live a nice long life. I've got with me the pots, some mycorrhiza, some planting soil mix, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let me get some of these out of the way here. One of the things I really need is some sort of tray or something to catch all this water. Right now these plastic tables just get pretty wrecked by this stuff. So let me give myself some room here, move my herbs out of the way. And basically when I'm transplanting these things, the most important thing is that I'm not massacring these plants. I want to make sure that I get them out of here as gently as possible and then get them into a container where they will live a nice healthy life here. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got my planting mix right here, already pre-mixed. Basically what this planting mix is mostly compost, but I also mixed in some rock dust, some earthworm castings, and also some peat moss. But at any rate, let's get started. So I've got two tools that I'm using primarily. One is this spoon, and the reason I use a plastic spoon is because I like to really get in there and make sure that I'm getting these things out without damaging the plant. I don't want to do it with a big old shovel or gardening shovel. So I fill up the little container, and now it's time to extract the plant. So I'm going to start with this cucumber right here. Just sort of dig down, feel around. I'm just going to kind of outline it. See if I can feel like if I'm cutting through any roots or anything. It doesn't feel like I am. Ooh, we can see those roots have traveled quite a distance already. So get that guy in here. Now this is the same potting mix that I used to originally plant it. I'm replanting it in basically more of the same planting mix. So you want to try to stay consistent. At least it seems to me that it makes sense to stay consistent with the planting mix that you do here. So put a little bit more in there. Try to center it. Get it to stand up as much as possible. And you don't really want to compact the soil down a lot, but you do want to push it down enough so that the plant can sort of stand on its own. So that's pretty good. And let's get a little bit more here. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Transplanted. The last step, of course, is give it a little teeny bit of water. All right. One down, many to go. Okay, let's see if I can get this guy out. I can feel some roots breaking. I think it's okay to break roots a little bit, but you want to avoid as much of that as possible. Really try to get it out of here with as much of the roots intact as you can. But sometimes it's just inevitable. There we go. Maybe if you're using the actual peat pods, that's kind of what those are there for. It does tend to keep things a lot more together, if you will, and it makes it a lot easier to transplant, but it certainly costs a lot more money, so I try not to do that. And again, this is all a learning experience, so if this turns out that this method of planting doesn't work, I'm not going to do it again. But so far it seems to be okay, and at least the first things that I transplanted, these squash plants, right, these are doing great. So hopefully the cucumbers will do just as well, and the tomatoes and eggplants and everything else in here. Pushing that around, and again, I'm not going to really compact it a lot, but I'm just going to gently press down on this soil to sort of hold everything in place. Okay, and since this is not a big beef tomato, I will be removing this label. My wife bought me a P-Touch labeler, and I went a little crazy with it last year, so get rid of that. If anything, I will just write cucumber on the side of this or something like that. Okay, and give it a little water. And we're done. Alright, cucumbers done. I got 3 of them in pots here. And now on to the tomatoes. I'm not sure exactly what to do here. I've got 6 tomato plants. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 of them are right next to each other here. So what I'm going to do is, these ones are a little bit bigger. So I'm basically just going to try to extract just these 2 and then see if I can sort of peel them apart and get them into 2 separate pots, and hopefully they both make it. Okay, 2 plants right there. Very gently, I'm just going to tease these apart from each other. Shake them a little bit. Oh, there we go. Alright, now I'm going to plant these deeper. So if you can see here, put one of these guys down. This tomato plant here was planted up to about this level. So when I transplant it, I'm actually going to give it another about inch or so of soil because it'll root out of this stem here. And that's sort of what you want to do to make a nice strong tomato plant, is just let it root as much as possible. So hopefully that works. That's what I'm doing here next. Alright, there we go. So you can see that is planted a lot deeper than it was when I took it out of the ground. So hopefully that will give it a nice, solid foundation to grow me some nice big tomatoes. Drink up, little guy. Okay, so I've already got 3 of the cucumbers and 2 of the tomatoes planted out, and I realized that I screwed up. So don't drink beers while you're gardening because it tends to make you forget things. It's a PSA, don't drink and garden. This is my mycorrhiza, and you're supposed to take just a little pinch of this and put it right where the roots are going to go. Reason being is that this is it adds back some of the nutrients and organisms that the plants thrive on. So I forgot that for the first plants. I mean, hopefully they'll be okay. But moving forward, I'm going to be sprinkling this in on all the new plants. So take a little sprinkle of this, drop that right in where the roots go. That was maybe half a pinch of mycorrhiza, not a lot at all. Now what I've got here is my first radish. So you can see that it's a little wilty, probably from being overwatered. I'm going to try to plant it up a little higher so that it stands up straighter, and I'm also going to try to take off this mesh surrounding without actually damaging any of the roots or anything. So to do that, I figured it would be best to try with an X-Acto knife. So let's see how well this works. I've never done this before. It's a little bit tougher than I wished it would be. Just try to get that down to the bottom. Alright. Okay, so I think I've got it. Let me just gently unwrap this plant. It's kind of like I'm taking its clothes off. Alright, Mr. Plant. And down where the roots came through is a little tricky. There we go. Okay, good. That actually came off pretty easy. So now I'm going to stick it in here. Where the roots are at the bottom are going to be right in that mycorrhiza. And then I get a little bit more dirt here. And it's fallen over. I don't like that a lot, but I'm not sure if there's much I can do about it. Try to get it down in there a little bit more. Give it a little hit of water. And there we go. Hopefully it'll stand back up at some point. I mean, it is growing, so I don't know how detrimental this is to the plant. Stay just like that. Look at that. Perfect. Alright, so this one is another radish. I'm just going to try to do it a little bit deeper this time. I got my mycorrhiza already sprinkled in there. And now let's peel off the mesh. The X-Acto knife worked, but I think it's actually just easiest to peel it by hand. So I'm kind of just doing that now. And I am unwrapping this. Alright, Mr. Radish. Into your home. Okay, into the pot. Hit it with water. And I am quickly running out of space here, so. Okay, so I'm all done with my transplanting. I got all of the plants out of that Jiffy peat pod system and into their own little solo cups with good drainage. Probably took about 4 to 5 hours total to do that. I feel like a lot of the extra time was in, taking off the Jiffy wrapping around the little peat pods. And one problem that I definitely had to solve was catching all of the water. So what I came up with was more of these turkey bins, or the chicken roasting or turkey roasting bins. You can get them at the dollar store where they would be $1. I actually found them even a little bit cheaper than that at the local restaurant supply store. So at a restaurant supply store, these good-sized turkey basting bins were 87 cents each. So that worked out well, and I can get actually about 15 of these solo cups in one of these bins, and of course it catches the water, and I don't have to worry about it, rolling all over the place and onto the carpet and all of that sort of stuff. So what did I learn from all of this? I think the main thing that I learned is that I don't like those Jiffy peat pods. I just don't like them. They're a little difficult to figure out how to get the watering down. I never know if I'm overwatering or underwatering. It seems like I was overwatering because all the plants would grow up and then flop over. And that seems to be a symptom of overwatering. They took a lot of work to transplant. So I was first trying with that X-Acto knife. And the X-Acto knife, I figured, we're going to get right there and just take off the covering. But it's not that easy. It ended up being a lot easier just to actually tear the covering off. And of course, any roots that have already come through it, you're sort of damaging, or it's difficult to get the wrapping off without damaging those roots. And when you think about it too, that 72 pod greenhouse system from Jiffy only lasts a year. You can reuse it the following year, but you have to refill it with those Jiffy pods again. And those Jiffy pods are about, $6 to $7 to refill. So every year it's another $6 or $7 for each one of those trays that you want to do. It just seems expensive. As a matter of fact, when I went to the Home Depot and I was looking at those Jiffy pods again, or the Jiffy greenhouse systems again, for the 72 cell system, it was $6 and change for... actually, I think it was about $6.75 for the system with the greenhouse cover and filled with the pods, the little peat pods, and then for $6.25, like 50 cents less, were the refills. So you might as well just buy a whole new system every year. I mean, what's the point of even buying the refills? It's almost the exact same price as buying the system, and then at least you've got, another sort of plant base with a little greenhouse thing you can reuse. One of the things I had done from last year was just fill that with potting soil and planted directly into it. Now, I wouldn't recommend that either after doing it this year because the roots seemed to like it a lot. They went all over the place though, and you couldn't keep those roots contained. So when it came time to transplant, I felt like I was ripping roots out, and I just didn't like that. I mean, they sort of crowded each other out, and it just didn't work out as well. So instead, I think what I'm going to do from this point forward is I have these. Like this right here is a 72 cell greenhouse system. So it's got the plastic cover, and it's got a little base to catch water, and then it's got the various cells. And you can even cut these out and into sort of 6-packs and just rest them in there, and then put the greenhouse covering on the top of it. And I'm actually going to use these to transplant my lettuce that I bulk planted, but I think next year I'm just going to buy these instead and not worry about those stupid Jiffy peat pod systems anymore. Because, you know, frankly, this cost $4.47 at Walmart. It was on sale. And, you know, it can be reused year after year, as opposed to those Jiffy systems, which 1 year, and then you either have to just deal with, you know, no separation of your roots, or you have to buy a whole new set of peat pods, or just trash the whole thing and buy, you know, spend another $6-7 on a whole nother greenhouse system. So it just doesn't make sense. This would probably last me, you know, assuming that I take care of it, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, and I can just keep using it over and over, and it's only $4.50. So I like that a lot better. The last thing that I would recommend is changing the soil mixture. I found that growing in the same soil mixture that I put in my raised beds has not been as effective. So I'm going to try to actually increase the amount of peat moss percentage. So I'm probably going to do like 50% compost, 40% peat moss, and then supplement the rest with rock dust and vermiculite and some of the other minerals and earthworm castings and stuff that I put in there. So I'm going to try to do a little bit of a more peat moss heavy soil mixture for starting the plants, and I think that's going to work out a little bit better. So that's it. I've got all my plants transplanted. Some of them did die, but overall I probably have about 90% of the plants that I planted are now transplanted, and they seem to be doing pretty well. So I'm very happy about that. Hey everybody, this has been Pacific Northwest Outdoors. My name's Chris, and if you liked the video you just saw, please click the like button. I would really appreciate it. If you'd like to see more videos, please click subscribe. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day, and cheers.